bad boy up. This is your host, Tobias Young, and we're doing another little jam session with you guys because we want to be able to help you succeed online. I have a very special guest with me today, and this dude has opened up multiple gyms. He's created an amazing company to help online trainers succeed and do it in amazing fashion. We'll kind of dive into some of this in a little bit, but I first wanted to be able to address the subject of today. It's really going to be about why do online trainers fail? Like, what are the biggest mistakes? What are the biggest bottlenecks that they face? And that way we can clear up some of those connotations and actually go over some things that might help you succeed, where you can kind of like dodge these roadblocks that are going to be inevitably getting into your way if you're not prepared for that. So, Trevor, welcome to the call, Trev.
Hey,
For
man.
those of the guests out here that aren't familiar with you, like what can you tell them? Tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, we'll do the quick background, but thanks for having me on. I'm excited to share some knowledge that we're learning. And I like the topic that we have today about mistakes, right? Because when we learn from people's mistakes, we can move forward quicker. And so it's a cool thing about reading books, right? Books are just like what people did well, what people did wrong, right? And now we live in the world of the internet, which makes the transmission of information really, really, really fast and quick. So you can get to where you want to get to a lot faster if you just don't make some of the big mistakes that we're going to talk about today. So a little bit of my background. And so I've got your kind of quintessential personal trainer story that I started training my mom and my stepdad at a local community center, right? And this was probably in the, what is it now, mid 2000s, give or take. It was right at the boot camp craze. If anyone's been around long enough for that, where people are charging $200 to make you run around outside on a football field and do burpees and push-ups and stuff. And so I kind of grew up into that phase. I was doing a little bit of personal training and then started large group training. And I was working out of the local community center, just getting clients. Like you get clients, shake hands, kiss babies, ask for referrals, just kind of how you get started. And ended up building a clientele big enough to then move into our own space. And so I always had visions of owning my own gym. And so I got to a point where the numbers actually made sense, and then moved into our own facility. And so one facility turned into four over the course of years. And so out of those facilities actually bred the next business, which is Coach Catalyst. Which is where I spend most of my time now, which is a software company for online coaches. And so we help to be the bridge between you and your client, so that we call it scaling the one-on-one coaching process. Because in any sort of relationship, right, there's a gap of information. In most coaching relationships, a client comes to see you and then a client leaves, right? And there's this gap of how is that client doing when they're not with me? And so we ran into a lot of these own issues at our facility. We were running a lot of challenges and places where we needed the clients to do stuff outside of the facility, right? Yeah, they were showing up for workouts, but in order for us to get them the results that they wanted, they had to be cleaning up their nutrition. They had to be doing some life management stuff. They just had to be doing this stuff, and we had no idea how they were doing outside of like asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of follow up, which isn't a scalable process. Yeah, you can do it with a few people, but you can't do it with 50, 100, 150 people. And so that's what sent us down the technology world, is like, we need to find a way where we can coach people outside of the facility, get better information so that we can help them be successful, but not in like a watered down learning management system. Here's all the videos. You need to watch all this stuff in like an actual coaching manner, where I need information on how you're doing so I can coach you better. And so we've built the software really around two things. Does the software help the coach improve their connection with the client? Because we know that's probably the most important piece in working with someone. And does it help a coach scale? So can they take this one-on-one experience and how can they scale it across 50 and across 100 people? Because our goal is to help coaches make a career out of coaching. Like, we need more coaches, like just flat out in the industry. Like, we need more coaches. There's more than enough people that need help, and we need more coaches to do it. And so how can we play a role in helping a coach be able to scale to 50 clients so that they can see this as a viable career and see this as a viable income stream for them to have a family, and not just, hey, I'm going to coach for a couple of years and then I'm going to go get a real job or become an insurance agent, or, whatever we see happening. And we see this with personal trainers too, where personal trainers' lifespan is like 6 months or something like that. So like, we need more people retiring as coaches. And so a piece of that comes from being able to scale and being able to create a viable business out of it. And now it's happening a lot more in the online world because the internet has given this, and really COVID kind of has blessed us in a way where it kind of pushed the industry into this a little bit faster. So we're still at the probably at the very beginning stages of the online world. Like there's only going to be more that comes, and so our goal now is just to help coaches coach more people, change more lives, and so that's where I spend a lot of my time now is with Coach Catalyst, and so yeah, that's the quick version.
I love it, man. And obviously, there's a lot of trainers because everybody who had a brick and mortar business, especially when COVID hit, you had to make some pivots if you wanted to really be
100%.
successful, right? So many of us were like, God, COVID hit. What do I do? And so a lot of trainers ended up just going into a whole different career, which sucks because you're super
Hmm.
passionate about fitness. And for those others, they were like, well, I want to start to train clients online, but I'm not sure what to do, how to do it. I need systems. I'm kind of like just stuck in general. So knowing that, what are some of the biggest bottlenecks that you see a lot of trainers face when they're coming online, man?
Yeah, and like, so I'm going to answer that, but I first want to talk about the piece about like kind of forcing clients on or forcing coaches to go online, right?
Yeah.
COVID was in a way was a blessing because you had like if your gym, so I'm in Minnesota, so I was literally closed for 12 weeks. Like my gyms could not operate. I could not let someone legally in my doors. And then we closed again in December. And so when you're kind of back is up against the wall, right? You have to think a little bit differently and get creative. Like we went completely online. Our coaches were still coming into the facility. We were live streaming everything. We were just trying stuff because we were trying to survive, right? Like everyone else was in the industry. So it forces you to be a little bit more creative and it kind of shows you what's possible. And I think a lot of people did realize that, hey, there is an online component. Or even if you're a brick and mortar, there is a hybrid component.
Mhm.
Right now, you can expand your business instead of just being, I only get paid when you come and see me. Like I get paid to help you get a result. And that might be coming with me twice a week. It might be once a week. It might be once a month. But I think it started to shift some people's thinking into actually helping the client get a result. And it doesn't mean they have to come and see you twice a week. And so that really at least opened the eyes in our facility to how we could do things differently. But probably the biggest thing that when I'm working with coaches and moving into the online world is understanding that the online world and the offline world, they're just different business models, but you're still serving a human. And so there's certain human characteristics that we need to be aware of and be cognizant of if I move into the online world. And I think the one that most people take for granted if you're an offline coach and you're moving into the online world is this relationship building. And so if we looked at the coaches that have the best retention in their businesses, I would bet my house on the people that have the best retention are the ones that have the best connection with their clients, the best relationships with
Yep.
their clients, right? Anyone that's been a trainer for more than 5 years has the client that really hasn't gotten any results, but they just keep coming back because they love hanging out. They know that you're helping them be successful. Maybe they came to you lose 20 pounds and they haven't lost a single pound, but they just keep showing up because they love it, right? And so that is entirely because of a relationship. Like they just enjoy having a coach, having a trainer. They enjoy how they feel when they get done working out, all those kind of things. And so, yeah, they came to you for 20 pounds, but really that really wasn't what they were looking for. It was a connection that they were looking for, which when we move into the online world we have to be way, way, way more cognizant about building this because it doesn't happen naturally. So if you think about this, so let's say you have a client that's meeting with you twice a week, right? And they're going to probably meet with you 50 weeks out of the year. And so that's a 100 touch points. That's 100 1-hour sessions of hanging out with another individual. You have to be like a pretty big jerk to not develop a relationship with someone in 100 hours of like time together, right? And so we kind of take this idea of like physical location for granted in the offline world because people just show up to their appointment and we hang out for an hour. I'm educating them, I'm helping them be successful. We're talking about life outside. And then they go away and they come back and they just do that for years. Right. And then we have clients that stay with us for 5, 10, 15 years. But then when we go in the online world, we just think that like I can just develop this program and like they'll go and they'll watch these videos and maybe I'll send an email follow up here and there. And like clients are just going to be with me forever. And it becomes way more like transactional. And so it's the reason why a lot of coaches retention is terrible because like the clients with them for 3 months, 12 weeks, and then they bounce because maybe they got what they were looking for, but they never really developed a connection because they didn't develop that into the program that they were creating. And so there are ways that we can develop connection in the online world. We just have to be like, it has to be probably the most important part of our program is how am I going to build connections with my clients? Less about like, how am I going to get them to eat more protein? Right. Because like that is an important piece of helping them get results, but like building a connection is going to give you a long enough runway to be able to change that person's life. And so like you want to clients that are with you for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And that's solely based around connection and especially the connection in the first 30 to 60 days. So there's enough data about the onboarding process and that being critical to long-term success and retention rates. And so the better your onboarding is, the better the first 30 and 60 days is, the longer you're going to keep clients.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that because I see a lot of trainers where they just kind of they throw a training app at their new clients. Okay, great. How do I do it? Okay, here's a training app, and it's kind of like your workouts are loaded up in there, your
Yep.
nutrition's in there. Like, let me know if you have any questions. And the client's like, I'm not used to this kind of this like a training app. Can you like walk me through it's like
Mm-hmm.
anything? And a lot of trainers have no onboarding
No.
whatsoever in there, and then they wonder why they have shitty client retention when their clients drop off after like they get a couple weeks later their clients like I don't think this is for me, and they're like, what, I took all this time to create a custom nutrition plan and workouts, all that stuff. There is so much more that goes into it than a
Yep.
nutrition and a workout plan, and obviously there's habits and there's lifestyle coaching and all those other things that you want to put in there. But one thing, if I can tell everybody out there too, just to piggyback on what you were saying, is make your onboarding experience a comfortable process where your client just feels like, this is awesome. I love
Yep.
this. I feel like I know exactly what I need to do. I know what's expected of me. I know how to get support. I know where to find all the information when I'm looking for. So that's huge. And that would be one of the top priorities that I would say as far as like get that set up ASAP if you don't
100%.
already have that set up. So
100%. And I think we get it twisted a little bit because we're in the industry is we think that the value is in the meal plan, in the nutrition plan, in the workouts. We feel like, hey, we're providing the value in these things, right? Well, we live in this age called the internet where I could get any of those things with a few clicks. And AI is actually doing a really good job of giving those things to anybody. And so that stuff is a commodity. That stuff is commoditized and whoever can do it the cheapest is going to win. Right. And so we can't be competing on those things. I give the best nutrition plans or I build the best workouts. Like you're not going to win. And so where you can win is providing an incredible experience for that person. And I think if we focus, like you said, more on the experience, especially early on, and making sure that we're onboarding people effectively, right? If you are going to use an app, if you're going to use technology, or do we have videos that are walking people through it, showing them exactly what to do? Or are we just showing up on day one and saying, like, here's your nutrition plan, here's your workouts, let's get started right now? Right, like anything, right, there's kind of like this like slow moving onboarding, the slow like phase at the beginning to get someone comfortable with everything, and then we move into it. And so like for anyone listening, like that is by far a very simple thing that you can do is just spend 3 to 4 days of just like helping that client get comfortable with working with you. And then the other thing is you can teach them how to work with you, because that's another thing that we forget about is when we have new clients, they're going to come into this relationship just like any relationship that we have, right? They've had many other relationships. And so they're going to come into the relationship with expectations that have been placed upon them or what they've had in other areas. And so the biggest way to disappoint someone is not live up to expectations. And if we don't know what expectations are, we don't even know what to live up to. And so we could be disappointing people not even knowing it. And so part of the onboarding process should really be what the client should expect from you and what you should expect from the client. So it's really clear on what this relationship is going to look like and how this is going to work really, really well. And that can all be built into the onboarding process. It's one of the reasons. So if someone was like, "Hey, why should I use Coach Catalyst?" Right? The biggest differentiator between Coach Catalyst and everyone else in the industry is our ability to deliver education. So we're pretty much the only one in this space that has put a premium on the focus of education, meaning you can have a lesson, you can have a video, you can educate your client as part of this client journey. So yeah, you can do workouts, you can do nutrition and habits and all that kind of stuff, but you can create this educational material. So you could create a 4 or 5 day onboarding sequence, which is a video from you every day where you're just taking that client through. Hey, it's Trevor here. Welcome to day one. I'm super excited for you to be part of my program. Over the next 3 or 4 days, we're just going to walk you through exactly what you're going to get out of this program and how to get the most out of it. Today, all I want you to do is just watch this video, and tomorrow I'll be back and we're going to fill out the form, right? And then maybe we do an intake form with the client on day 2. And maybe day 3 is like, hey, we've had a lot of clients ask about, like, when am I going to get back to them as far as messaging goes? And like, hey, I have a rule where I'm going to get back to you in 12 hours. I usually do it before that, right? And we can start setting these expectations on, like, what is the messaging and communication going to look like? How frequently are they going to get a new program? Like, and just laying all this out. So there's less room for interpretation, and then there's less room for disappointment. And so, because if we set the expectations, we should set expectations that we can hit 100% of the time, right? We should actually, like, set them lower and then over deliver, right? That's better than promising the moon and not being able to get there,
100%.
right? And so we can just build that out, and then we can run it like a system. Each new client that comes through, I don't need to create it from scratch every time. I create an incredible onboarding, and then I can do, a walkthrough of the app. I can do a walkthrough of the web, whatever tools I may be using with that client. If we're tracking macros, walk them through the macro tracker so they know exactly how to do stuff. Like, that just creates this incredible experience that then people tell their friends about, right? Because it's going to be different.
Yeah. And one thing that I made a huge mistake on in the very beginning, like years ago, this kind of dates me because I've been doing online for 15 years. Right?
Like, you part of the early days.
Oh, dude, it was
The
ugly back
OG.
then. It was ugly. Look at my onboarding back then. It was
Yeah.
Um, anyhow, what I used to do, and this is what not to do, you guys, okay, is to give them all this information all at their day one. Like, oh my God, I have so much great resources. I'm going to give them a menu plan. I'm going to get them, all this stuff. I'm going to teach them about macros. I'm going to teach them about calories. And they have all these PDFs like, blah, 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 blah. And then you have automations to remind them on everything. And they're going to get like 20 notifications on day one.
Yep.
And they're going to be completely overwhelmed. And they're going to be like, this is too much. I don't have time to go through all this because most people are busy. Let's face it. Right. And they don't want to have to do all that stuff. Like, they want simplicity. They don't want to read, 100-page ebook on nutrition. They want you to be like, as the coach, like, hey, this is what you need to know. Like, these are the things that we need to implement. Let's do it in an easy, simple way. Right. So that was one of the huge mistakes that I made, was just trying to give too much too soon. So drip feeding your content and making it simple and easy to digest is going to be one of the biggest things that will actually keep your clients in there too. Like, I still have some clients from 12 to 14 years ago. They're still with me. You guys, a couple of them are now online trainers now too. So it's cool.
So we have to move a little bit from this idea of helping a client maybe achieving a specific result and becoming that client's advisor. Like, just like they would have a financial advisor, just like they would have a doctor that they lean on, you want to be the person in their corner, anything health and fitness related, workout related, nutrition related, you're kind of their guy. Because when you have that advisor, when you have a consultant, like, you have them on your team, right? They're not there for just 12 weeks and then they bounce. And so we have to move kind of away from this, like, commoditized into more, and becoming an advisor comes strictly from connection and relationship. And you've put in the work that this person now trusts you, that you're going to be in their corner, helping them be successful with their health and fitness, forever. Like, that's the ultimate goal. Right. I want to touch on another thing that we kind of talked about, this idea of connection. Right. And so one thing that we miss when we move into the online world is, like, physical face-to-face connection, right? When you see someone in person, you shake their hand, you look them in the eyes, there's a level of trust and there's a level of connection that builds because of proximity. We're in the same space, we're touching, we're high-fiving, those things happen. And so while we can't necessarily be in the physical space with clients in the online world, we can do more video. So I see too many coaches that kind of hide behind written word, or they send a text message rather than a video message, rather than an audio message. And so if we think about text versus audio versus video, right? I could say the same thing in all three mediums, but they're all going to be perceived different, right? A text is at the lowest end of the spectrum.
Yep.
Audio is next. If I'm talking, right, you're going to feel like I'm talking to you. So that's better, right? And then video is at the high end because now I can see you. Just think the example I always give to coaches is like, think about the people you follow on YouTube or the influencers that you follow. If you were to meet them in person, you feel like you know them, right? You never met them in your entire life, but you feel like you know them because you've watched enough of their content. And so you get really excited to meet them because you feel like they have you have a relationship with them. And that's only because of the video component that's happening. That other person has no idea who you are, right? And so now we can do the video component, whether it's educating, whether it's doing client check-ins, but finding ways to do video. And now that client and you are going to have a deep, deep relationship because of this visual component that's happening, right? The client is consuming your content. So we're trying to get a lot of coaches to shift away from written content or doing both written and video. So if you have written content, also record a video of you teaching it at the same time. Because now let's say if you have 12 weeks of a program that you're running, right? And let's say you have a daily video, right? Over the course of 12 weeks. Like, I don't even know how many days that is, 84 days or something like that. If someone watched even just a 2 to 3 minute video of you for 84 straight days, right? And you never talk to them, they would probably have a level of connection to you. And then if you added on a video call or you added on personalization and all these other things, that's where it starts to get really powerful. And that's how we really start to build connection. And so getting away from text, doing more video, doing more audio, and finding ways to connect in that way. And there are ways that you can systemize a lot of that by creating client journeys and that kind of stuff. And then you add on the flavor of, meeting that person and doing check-ins and that kind of stuff. Like I think that's a kind of an unstoppable formula in the online world. But a lot of people are afraid to kind of put themselves on video, and I don't want to I need the text set up. We come up with all of these excuses, but honestly, like the more raw it can be, the better. Just like in person, right? We don't like rehearse for every time we have a client session. Like we just show up, right? So like the same thing with video, just show up, do it frequently enough, and like you're probably going to be successful.
Yeah, it goes the same thing as putting out your content too on your social media too, is just
Hmm.
making sure that you get out there and you let your audience get a chance to know you. Like,
Hmm.
what's the reason why the Kardashians are so damn popular? Is because people feel like they freaking know them, right?
Right.
They get into their world. They're like, oh my God, Kim did this or whatever.
Right.
My my daughter and my wife like that show. And I'm like, don't let your brain cells shrink anymore. Just kidding.
Right.
Kardashian. So yes, absolutely. So when you're doing your anything, your social media, your onboarding, your client check-ins, all that, like the more personal touch that you can put on this is just going to build that connection so much faster in there too. So great points, Trev.
Like the cool thing is in today's day and age too, is we have technology to make this easy. Like this isn't 10 years ago. Like literally inside of Coach Catalyst, you can pull up the client, press the video button, record a message to them and send it, or do an audio message. So it's not like I have to like record it on my computer and then download it and then send it to my phone and then upload it on my phone and then send it. Like there's tools that you can use now to be able to do this really, really effectively and quickly. So it doesn't feel like it's this like monumentous task in order to do this. And like, I mean, look at like 15 years ago when people were in the online world, like you didn't really have any tech, right? You were like doing PDFs that you were sending to people, like you're writing emails and all of that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. And like people made it happen, like they made it work, right? Or they recorded a video and then attached it to an email or something like that, where like the tech is easy now. Like that shouldn't be the limiting factor. Don't let that be an excuse because there are tons of options in order like to be able to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And Trev, what are some other roadblocks that you see a lot of other coaches deal with? So let's just take onboarding aside. We kind of
Yeah,
went
yeah,
past that. The relationships, yes, not establishing relationships. What's another thing you're like, man, I can't stand it when this happens because
yeah.
they're literally ruining the client experience.
So, and this maybe isn't necessarily client experience, but it's who I'm going after, right?
Mhm.
So think about this. A lot of coaches that come into the online world start in the offline world, right? And so the offline world has natural constraints to it, meaning geography. So people are not going to travel 100 miles to work with you on a regular basis. It's just not going to happen typically, right? You pretty much have a 5 mile to 10 mile radius around where you are if you're working with people in person. So that naturally kind of selects the people that are going to be able to work with you. And so, unfortunately, in the offline world, you can be a little bit more vague on what you do. You can do weight loss. Cool. Because you're going to attract the people that can come to you for weight loss. But if I go into the online world and I do weight loss and I'm not Weight Watchers, right? Or a company with Noom, billion-dollar company, you're just going to get lost in the noise because the ocean goes from being this tiny little like pebble or like, tiny little puddle to the entire ocean. And so when we move online, you have to go so narrow, like so narrow. But the thing is, people get worried about going really narrow. But because the population is really anyone with the internet, right? This is billions of people. There's going to be enough people in these really weird niches to be able to create a sustainable business around it. And so we've got a good example. One coach that we work with, she only works with women who are girl moms. That is it. That is her niche. If you have boys, she's not a good fit for you. You have to have girls to be a good fit. And she's just narrowed it down because she's like, girl moms have different issues than boy moms do, or moms that have one of each. There's certain things that you go through when you only have girls that I'm going to help you navigate. And that just naturally, like it brings her really narrow, right? But then if I have only girls, it's like, yep, you get what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest worry is people think I can't niche down so far because I don't know, like there's not gonna be enough people. Like, trust me, there's going to be plenty of people because we're starting with 2 billion.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest mistakes when I first went online too. Is I worked at the gyms and I was like, oh man, I've actually coached competitor, I've
Mhm.
coached professional athletes before. I've coached old people that want to just move, and people that want weight loss and muscle gain. And I was like, I don't want to niche down. I had a
Mhm.
coach that was like, nah, like niche down, man, it'll help you out. But I was like, no, like I'm different. I can help everybody.
Yep.
But I want everybody to think about this. Okay, even if you can, don't do it. And here's why. Let's just say you're doing a post and you're talking about, hey, here's the best booty exercises, and you're helping these moms that maybe, lost their the plump in their booty, and then
Mhm.
they have this belly fat now after having their kids. And you're going over all these problems that a mom has because you're like, I can help these moms because I heard that's a great niche. There's a lot of moms out there. Then your next post, you're like, hey guys, you want to get jacked? You want to get a
Right.
six pack? You want to build these packs? You want to build peaks on your biceps?
Right.
This is the best bicep exercise to do. So, what do you think that lady is saying when she sees you talking about big biceps and getting ripped? Oh, I don't want to work with him. Like he works with those gross, bodybuilder guys. And then the guys are like, I don't want to work with him. He like helps like women and that like have
Mhm.
jiggly butts and stuff. And so you literally push everybody away. And people don't really realize that until I like frame, yes, what you're literally doing is pushing everybody away as opposed to solving one major problem for one type of person. So that person, when they see your content that they think is going to solve their problem, it's going to draw them in and they're going to want to know, more about that particular niche and how you can be able to help them out too. So I love that point. Dialing in on the niche, the avatar, that should be like one of your square one things that you do when you first start off online is getting really narrowed down on who you want to help and then what's the big problem that you're going to help
Right.
them solve.
And you hit the nail on the head with the problem idea, right? And so once you understand the who, right? And hopefully it's been someone that you've worked with a little bit. And if you haven't worked with that person, I encourage coaches to start with individual coaching. Don't try and run like a group program with a bunch of people that you don't really know what their true problems are. Work with people one-on-one. Do tons of calls. Like literally do it for dirt cheap so you can understand like what is that person going through on a day-to-day basis? What are their deep problems? And then we can start to craft a program around that. But we need to do a level of like market research if we don't have a good understanding of that. And so I think like this idea of solving a problem, right, is probably the most important piece of business. If you look at any business, business solves problems. And so you have to dial in what that problem is and how it relates back to that person, how it makes them feel, and how they're going to feel if this problem is solved for them. And then that kind of crafts your whole marketing, right? But when you focus on that single problem, it allows it actually makes everything easier because now when you're creating content, just create content that'll solve that problem, right? When I'm creating a program, what are the things that this person needs to do in order to solve this problem? And so it makes everything easier. And I think some people get a little worried, like, oh, like what, like, but I want to do it all. What, like, who cares? Like, try this. And if it doesn't work, cool, go do something else. And so, like, you can do everything, you just can't do it all right now. So, like, start with this, focus there. If you get traction, awesome, run with it. If you don't, cool, pivot a little bit. And maybe it's messaging, maybe it's guarantee, maybe like there's so many factors that we can kind of play with to see, like, maybe I'm solving a problem that doesn't actually exist. I think it exists, but the person doesn't actually know it exists. So then we have an education problem. And that's a really big hill. If I have to both educate the client and then I provide the solution after the education, like you don't want to be in that world. You want people that are problem aware. So
Yep.
they understand what's going. That's why weight loss and fat loss is such like a big market, right? Because they look in the mirror. Oh, yep. Pants don't fit. Okay, cool. Like it's just they have problem awareness, right?
Yeah.
And I need to fix it type of thing. And so I think that's why a lot of people go into that niche, but there's so many like sub niches and so many ways that you can differentiate and be the guy that does it for this person
Mhm.
or go.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people too, they get scared that they're like wrapped into that niche. Like if they're like, oh, if I
Yep.
do this, I'm going to have to do this for the next 30 years of my life.
Right.
Keep in mind that you're not married to your niche yet.
Right.
You don't want to be changing niches all the time because then you're going to confuse your audience. But if you do change, like it's okay. It
Mm-hmm.
might happen, right? I changed my niche over time too, because I realized like, hey, I was coaching this type of person, but I was super passionate about coaching this type of person. So I actually switched gears
Mm-hmm.
and made it happen. And it's just, obviously you kind of start, your marketing from scratch again, but keep in mind, like go for it. Most important is just don't stay stuck and paralyzed. Like just always move forward and pick something and then go for it, which is great. Um, Trev, another thing that I see a lot of coaches have a hard time with is building authority and nurturing their prospects because people need to have three things before they're going to want to work with you. Okay, especially if it's a higher ticket type
Mm-hmm.
coaching program, they're going to need to know you, like you, and trust you. Guys have heard it a million times, KLT. And a lot of people have no type of nurturing strategies. So obviously, do you want to put in your 2 cents on
Yeah,
like kind of
absolutely.
that part?
So when I think about nurturing, right? So when we're talking about nurturing, it's someone they're not a client yet, right? But they're interested. So they're interested. Maybe they downloaded a lead magnet or something free, a PDF or whatever. We captured them, and so actually we want to do a lot of that capturing because we want to capture email addresses. Email is the only thing in the marketing world that you own, right? You can export your email list from MailChimp or ConvertKit or whatever, right? And you can move to someone new, right? It's really hard to export your followers from Instagram and move to something new. If Meta were to go down, right? Facebook goes down, Instagram goes down, like it all goes down, and there will be a new platform that comes up and everybody starts at zero and it's a race from there. With email, it's different, right? If all of those go down, I have my email list exported. And so just like direct mail, like I can then just send more emails and build that list up. Or then I can like kind of get that list going again. But what happens with most people with email is they just collect emails and they just collect emails and they collect emails, but they don't actually email people on a consistent basis, or they just email when they're trying to sell something. And so like then it's just all unsubscribes. And so a good way that it was kind of demonstrated to me with email is you have bank deposits and you have bank debits, right? And we always want to have a very healthy bank account, which means we're doing way more deposits than we're doing debits. And a deposit is a way when is when we're providing value. It could be educational, it could be entertainment, it could be a combination of that. And then a debit is when we're asking for something, right? We're selling or we're doing things in that nature. So we want to make sure that those are outsized as far as what I'm giving versus what I'm asking,
Yep.
right? And if you're providing consistent value, right, and it's entertaining and people like enjoy and they're getting value out of it, they're going to open, and then you're building that know, like, and trust factor, right? And maybe you're using it too to drive them to your Instagram or you're driving them to a video you did on Facebook. So now we're getting some of that video content, a new YouTube video you shot, that kind of stuff. We can move them around, but I don't want to be at the mercy of an algorithm to show my stuff to people. Like that's good and we need to do it, but I can't control that. Like, yeah, there's things we can do to influence it, but one little tweak in the algorithm and we got to start completely anew. Email is different, right? And so I encourage most coaches to, like, email is your number one marketing asset, and we need to continually be growing that. And then we can drive people everywhere else that we need to, but just like put out good content that's entertaining. And again, when you know your avatar and you know the problem that you're solving, it's a lot easier to put out content than if I'm trying to serve everybody. It's like, oh, what should I talk about today? Do I want to talk about building muscle or losing fat or improving my 40-yard time? Like, it's just like, once you know what you're talking about, now you can go all in and really serve that person more than anything else.
Yeah. And when you're giving value consistently over time, your prospect enjoys that. And who do you think they're going to want to work with when they are ready to work with somebody? When you've been giving them consistent value and it speaks to the problem and they're aware of their problem, they're like, this person could provide the solution. And then when they are finally ready, then they're going to work with you. Right. But if you just kind of like neglect your email list, or like Trevor was saying, if you only send it like, hey, I'm running a
Right.
special on my program, who wants it?
Right.
Like, they'll be like, unsubscribe fast. You'll kill your email list faster than anything by doing that as well. The other great way to nurture your prospects is to create a community, right? So you
Mhm.
can build a community of other people just like them. So that could be a Facebook group, that could be school, that could be, any type of area where maybe you do live streams, just like, hey, you guys are
Mhm.
seeing this right
Yeah.
inside the online Fit Pro community. I love you guys, by the way. By the way, if you're watching this live, give me a hashtag live so I know that you are here. If you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay so I know you're getting some value out of this too. And so obviously, if you are a coach and you're constantly giving value to that community, they're seeing you on live streams, you're handing out resources to them that could help them, like lead magnets and things like that, then that's going to be another great way where you're going to be able to have it. So you can use them to feed off of each other as well.
Mhm.
So when you invite people to your Facebook group, what can you do? You can ask those 3 questions that they have to join, and you can get their
Yep.
email address right there. You can have another one where, hey, if they want to book a call to get help with a game plan, whatever it is, you can do that. And then inside your email list, obviously, you can shoot people over to your Facebook group. So the
Right.
more cross pollination that you have, you can like nurture them through multiple pathways. The faster this whole process is going to happen too.
100%. And you don't need to create new content for each platform, right? You can create one bigger piece of content. Maybe it's an email that you write out, right? And then you can take a piece of that and maybe it goes in your Facebook group, right? And it goes on Instagram and it goes as a post. And so you can use one piece of content and distribute it across the different places. So it's not like I have to do something here and do something there and do something there. You can be really strategic about how you create things. One thing that you said that you kind of glossed over that I want people to be like, just to hear again, is like, you don't get to dictate when someone is ready. And so you need to be there when they are ready. And so that could be right now, that could be in a month, that could be in 6 months, that could be in 12 months. Um, I have a ton of stories from our gyms where people just kind of follow us for 6 months or 12 months. And they're kind of like interested in what we're doing, but then they have that moment, right? And the moment is really easy in weight loss, right? I tried on a pair of pants I haven't tried for a while, or I went out to an event, or I saw pictures of myself, or all, like, there's a number of kind of events that someone's like, okay, I need to do something now,
Mhm.
right? And they're ready now, they are ready to be a buyer and they're ready to make a decision because the pain has gotten strong enough for them to go take action with it. And so you just need to be the guy or gal when this happens that's in their world, right? Because now they're going to come to you, because now I don't have to go through all the research of like finding like, who should I work with or this. Oh, like, hey, Trevor's been sending me stuff for the last year. I mean, I love his content. Like, oh, he's got a program starting in. Oh, yep, now's the time. Let's do it, kind of thing.
Yep.
And so you're really, I mean, you're playing the long game, right? Like, you're playing the long, and you have to be okay with playing the long game. And the ones that are willing to play it are going to be able to do it for a long time, because this stuff builds, right? Everyone starts at zero. That's just how we start any business, anything. It starts at zero.
Mhm.
And then you're going to build assets and collateral over time, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're going to look back 5 years and like, oh man, like, life is completely different. Business is completely different because you've consistently made those deposits over and over and over again. And then you get to a point where it's like, you can just send an email and fill a program because you've just built enough goodwill.
Yep, 100%. And then obviously you want to have systems to be able to automate a lot of these processes too. So
Mhm.
if you have a CRM like Fit Pro Solution, where you can have your email nurture already set up, how nice would that be? So you don't have to do a bunch of manual emails. I still see a lot of coaches doing everything manually. They're like, let me send an email to each one of my clients. And I'm like, no, automate those type of things,
Yep.
right? You want to be
100%.
able to have customization, spend your time doing the customization and your one-on-one and like really being the best coach possible. But the things that you can do on autopilot that you're going to have to do for everybody, like things like emails and giving them their, a macro calculator to check out or whatever it is, and letting them know to upload their progress photos, like those things can be on automation team.
Mhm.
So that way you're not spending 12 hours a day. You can spend, 5 or 6 hours of the day and make them the most out of what you're doing. So any systems or coaching tools that you would recommend, Trev?
Yeah, I mean, that's like Coach Catalyst is obviously
Yeah.
like one that like where we think about you want to automate the stuff that like it doesn't require a human to do, right? So having the client follow up, did they do their thing today? Sending out a lesson, these sequences of things, like we can build that in advance. And so then we can run it over and over and over and over again. So that's one thing with systems, right? You can't just like wake up one day and a system appears. You have to spend a fair amount of work developing the system. But once you've created the system, it's going to pay you for as long as you run that system, right? There's a ton of front end work, but you get all of the value on the back end. And I think a
Yes.
lot of people just aren't willing to put in that work on the front end to really get this thing dialed in. And there's so many technology things out there that you can use, but finding the one or two systems that work for you. So like, here's a good example in how we coach people. There's really two pieces to your business. There's a before the sale and there's an after the sale. So before the sale, that's marketing, that's sales, it's nurturing, all of that kind of stuff. And we should have a system that handles that, right? Coach Catalyst isn't that. We are not that. And we are very fine with saying that is not our world, right? So we need something there. But then we need a client fulfillment system. So when someone becomes a client, how do we fulfill on the promises that we made in our marketing? Right. And that's the lane that Coach Catalyst lives in. And so they are your clients that you're working with, that you're educating, that you're holding accountable, that you're helping them achieve their goals. Like that's where we live. And so most coaches, as you're getting established, need two systems. And those systems will get a little bit more complex as you get bigger. They can be really simple from the beginning. You could use something really simple like ConvertKit and get it for free and have little mini sales pages. It doesn't cost you much. Right. And Coach Catalyst, we have a $5 plan. So you could be off the ground for less than $10 a month with some stuff. But then as you start to become a little bit more complex, right? Your email list grows, your automations get a little bit more complex. Then you move to something that's has a little bit more beef to it because it's going to allow you to do some different things. But that's like the nature of business. I think too many people want to jump to they want to jump to like stage 8 right
Yep.
at the beginning, and they're not willing to like play at stage 1 for a bit and then play at stage 2 for a bit and play at stage 3. It's the ones that try to jump that the ones that fail because they haven't went through the learning process in order to be successful at stage 8. And so starting slow and just kind of incrementally moving forward, like you said earlier, just continuing to take steps in the right direction. And then once you see there's a little bit of stress on the system, all right, now let's make it a little bit more robust. And then let's make it a little bit more robust. But I see like too many coaches that want like the perfect funnel and automation sequence and like all of these things from day one. It's like, dude, you don't have any clients.
Yeah.
Like, just go talk to somebody and get a client.
Yeah.
Right. When you have hundreds of leads coming in, yes, we need these automations.
Yeah.
But like right away, let's just send some emails. Let's provide a ton of value. Let's build our list and let's just get some clients. Right. And now you have some money coming in the door, you have some revenue coming in, and then you can build on that. But without any revenue, there is no business.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's why I created a tool called Fit Pro Solution that actually does some of that marketing stuff for you. So you guys can check it out, get a free 14-day trial.
Do it. Do it.
FitProSolution.com. Anyhow, other things, and I want to be cognizant of your time too, Trev, but is there anything else that you would think of like, man, this is a glaring thing that these trainers when they're getting going, especially in the beginning, but also, as they grow and scale, because there's going to be different things that are going to be bottlenecks when you're in the 0 to 3K, when you're first getting that level. Then there's going to be things that like when you get to that 3 to 8K per month mark, that are going to be different bottlenecks than the very beginning. And then when you're looking at growing and scaling, there's going to be different things that you want to focus on. It's kind of like, you don't want to throw 3 plates on the bench press the first day.
Right.
You're going to freaking struggle. So you have to start with the foundation pieces. So you start with one plate or whatever it is, and you kind of get your bearing set inside there. So what would you say if there was like one more thing that these coaches struggle with, where you would be like, this is something that you want to look out for, and this is how you would overcome it?
And this might be more mentality and a little bit more philosophical, but problems never go away, right? At every stage of business, you're always going to have problems. The problems just change, right? And the bigger the problem you can solve, the more you're going to get paid, right? And so we want to continue level up to solve bigger problems. Early on in the business, you're solving very minor problems because you're getting the business going. And then as the business evolves, you're going to solve bigger problems, right? And then you're going to ultimately be making more. The one thing that helps problems go away quickly is sales. And so typically the more sales we can make, it helps us make problems go away a lot quicker, right? When I have a revenue to be able to use this new tech solution, because then it can automate all this time I'm spending with nurturing, right? When we have sales, we can then make some of the problems a little bit easier. You're always going to have problems. So just never thinking that, hey, if I just get to 10K a month, all my problems go away. No, they're just going to change. They're going to be different. Sometimes like they even get worse, right? Because there's certain stages in business where it gets worse before it gets better. Because there's these like certain marks where you have to get through it because you're not quite big enough, but you need to be through this threshold. You can't hire somebody. Like you just need another 5K in revenue to hire someone. And so there are these like points in business where it's like, this really sucks. And I either need to get small again, or I need to get bigger because I'm in this no man's land. And we see it with businesses all over the place. And typically more revenue can help us get through no man's land. But I think like too many coaches focus on the tech, they focus on this or that, and they don't focus enough on like just serving the client, finding the avatar, and like just making sales. And so, how do you have more conversations with people? So, some coaches that we work with, a metric that we track is like conversations. How many conversations are you having? And not just in the online world. So, we talked about this early at the beginning, is online and offline is simply a business model choice. You're still serving an individual that is a living, breathing human and they have problems. You've just chosen online as your way to solve that problem, which is cool. But don't think that because you're online, you have to win the online world. You don't have to win the internet in order to be successful online. You can still have an online delivery model, business model, but do a ton of marketing offline. You can still go meet with local groups, the Chamber, the Lions Club, BNI, and do face-to-face marketing, face-to-face education. You can partner with gyms and salons and all of these places where your clients live. It's just you've chosen online. So when they're working with you, it's just going to be in an online delivery model. And they could live down the street next door, any of that, but you do work online, which is cool. And I actually find that most coaches, new coaches, are going to get a lot of traction faster by focusing on an offline marketing model with an online delivery system than they get just trying to like win Instagram when they don't have any following or anything right away. And so you're going to get way more clients out of getting a talk with the local chamber and being able to go up there and educating all of these business professionals on how to become healthy and get clients that way versus like making posts on Instagram and praying that like it shows it to the right person that's ready right now that wants to buy, right? Like, and
Yeah.
so that's probably that if I talk to any brand new coach, it's like try and win the 5 miles around where you live, but just choose to do your business online. And then as you grow and generate more revenue, you can then try to win more of the internet if that's the route you want to go. But you may find that you can actually build a pretty kick-ass business in like the 10 miles around where you live. And you can meet up with your clients for coffee every once in a while, or maybe train them once a month, right? If we think about this idea of connection, that might be a little bit easier from a retention standpoint than, only having clients that live in another country, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
something to think about. I think sometimes when we move to an online business model, we think that we need to win online marketing, which it's good and it's helpful and it should be a component of what you're doing. But you can actually people have been running businesses without the internet for centuries, if not longer, right? And so those marketing principles, those business principles still hold true. It's just a delivery mechanism changed. So don't discount that. Don't feel like you need to win the internet.
Yeah, I love that, man, because everybody, wants to jump in there and be the next social media influencer and not just kind of neglecting all the resources that they have all around them because they
Mhm.
everybody has so many people. And like if you literally picked up your phone and we're like, you know what, let me just let's just say you're running a challenge or you started doing, your weight loss coaching. How many people do you think you would be able to get if you're like, hey, Bob, it's been a while. Just wanted to let you, see how you're doing and also let you know that I just started, doing online training, helping people lose, 10 pounds, in 30 days. And by the way, if you know anybody that would be a good fit, feel free to shoot them my way. Let's catch up soon. And you literally just do that to 100 of your contacts.
Yep.
How many people do you think would be like, oh, well, yes, I do know some people, but I'm interested too.
Mhm.
Like, what are the details on your program? So, hey, pick out
Right.
your phone. You probably have thousands of contacts in here. If you just do, you know, so many messages per day, I'm sure you like land clients because those people already know you, like you, and trust you as well.
Correct.
There's already contacts of you. So
100%. And that's where like getting in front of groups and educating, right? The fastest way to the know, like, and trust factor is being an educator, being in front of the room, because that person basically trusts you to be in front of the room with their group. And so that trust is going to be transferred, right, from that group to you. And so now you can bypass that. And so you don't have to nurture as long. Like, you talking for 60 minutes might be enough of nurturing that they need to be like, oh, yep. If they're in the right place, right time, like, yep, sign me up. And so trying to do more of that. And like your phone thing is like everyone has a phone, everyone has contacts in their phone. You just have to let people know what you're doing. Right. And you had a nice little framework. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but a nice little framework on, hey, Trevor, I've just created a new program that helps XYZ person achieve XYZ results in XYZ time. I'm calling it the super cool method, right? I thought you might be a good fit for it, or I thought you might be someone that's interested in it, or you might know someone that's interested in it. Just let me know if it's something that I can help with. I just wanted to let you know what I'm doing. What are you up to these days? Type of thing. Like just super simple. It's to the point. They know what you're doing. They know what you're up to. And if it resonates, great. I think too many people get caught up in like, oh, like what if like they don't like me anymore because I, talked about what I'm doing. Like it's not a person you wanted as a friend anyways. So
yeah,
like we kind of have to get over ourselves in a way if we want to build a business. Building any business is uncomfortable and it's going to be uncomfortable at the beginning. The best way to get comfortable is to do uncomfortable things. So it's like,
yeah,
get good at doing it.
yeah. And just keep in mind that two things are going to happen, you guys, if you don't market yourself. If you don't market yourself effectively, one, you're obviously going to be hurting yourself because you're obviously not generating your business, but you're not going to be able to help that potential client that maybe would have seen your content and would be like, oh my God, like this person might be a good fit to help me solve my problem. So that's one, like you're going to be letting them stay stuck if you don't market yourself. The second thing that can happen is another trainer or coach. Oh, these,
Ah, the
the
balloons, the
balloons came.
balloons.
Another thing that can happen is another online trainer or coach is going to do the things that you're not willing to do by just putting out the right type of content. And that client that could have been yours ended up going with them just because you didn't put out content first. And so they ended up needing some help and they're right there already in your world and they could be yours. So go out there, make a difference. Don't be scared. And keep in mind that if you stay in your little comfort zone bubble, you don't grow.
That's right.
Where you grow the most is outside of your comfort zone. That's where you develop more as a coach and a person and how you become better. So, amazing. So, Trevor, like that was so much value. I appreciate you jamming with me, man. And if anybody wants to know more about, I actually put the link to Coach Catalyst inside the chat right there. So you guys can all download it if you guys want to get a free. I think he extended the trial too, right?
Yes.
So instead of
So we have
14 days.
we normally have a 14-day trial. Everybody gets that. But if you sign up and then you just let me know you heard about it here, you just send us a message, support@coachcatalyst.com, or there's a little widget inside the platform. Open that up, send us a message, and just told us you heard it here. Tobias was the one that sent you. Great. Awesome. I'll double your trial, or I'll have a team double your trial. So you have 30 days to play with the platform to see if it's going to be a good fit for what you've got going on. Because honestly, just like you with clients, just like us at Coach Chalice, we want to find the right fits and we want to find people that are going to be able to utilize our platform to change a bunch of lives. And so you got to play with it. You got to test it on yourself to make sure that it's a good fit. one thing that's a little bit different about us is we take customer support extremely seriously. And so you'll probably do a call or have the opportunity to do a call throughout your trial. We do 1 to 3 calls with every new coach. And so you'll have someone, if you want it, to kind of handhold you through, because I know technology can be kind of scary and new and that kind of stuff. And I get it. And so we have a huge knowledge base where if you're kind of the person that wants to just learn it on your own, you have the resources. But if you're also the person that's like, hey, you know what? I want to get on the phone with these people and have them kind of talk about business a little bit, and we can give you an idea on like, hey, you're running group training programs, you should set it up this way. Hey, you're doing one-to-one coaching, you should set it up this way. Hey, you're doing macro accounting, set your account up this way. We can give you some knowledge on how to be a little bit more effective right from the go if you want that help. But again, it's out there if you need it. So everyone at the end of the day, honestly, like all of our competitors, everyone in this space is probably going to have a pretty similar feature set. Like over the next 5 years, like we're all going to kind of offer the same thing, like, because there's only so many things you can offer, right? And so we feel that we can win in this world with humans, with customer service, with providing a great experience and helping educate you and helping you be successful as a coach. And so we're kind of living proof as part of that process. We want to help you be successful. And so we're banking on that as being a differentiator on how we can help our coaches be successful. And ultimately, like, we're a business, so we need to stay profitable. So yeah, that's the pitch.
Awesome. Thank you, Trev. And then also, you guys, if you got value of this post, make sure you give me a hashtag value or throw in some fire emojis in the comments. I would love to see that. And then also, hey, if you have a friend that could definitely benefit from this, that's an online trainer or fitness coach, make sure you tag them in the comments so you can share this video with them. So hopefully that was helpful, you guys. Love you guys. Online Fit Pro community. Have an awesome day. And if you need anything at all, reach out, shoot me a DM. Talk soon.